Welcome into First Pitch for Wednesday, June 21st. I am Drew Martin, joined by Jimmy Adams and Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com as we are talking the Wednesday slate here. We got some day action, so wanted to get the show out early to you. And first up here, Jimmy Adams, WagerTalk.com. Big game breakdown. Jimmy, which game do you got circled?
So I'm going to look at the Diamondbacks and Brewers for today's big game breakdown as they finish up their series in Milwaukee. Look, this Diamondbacks team is absolutely for real. I don't think it's very debatable at this point. They lead the NL West. They have the second best record in the entire National League, right behind the Braves. Arizona's offense, they produce at a high clip. They don't have a lot of maybe household names, but this unit is elite. And they have two pitchers that are pretty much bet on nearly every time they take the hill. The first is Merrill Kelly, who was dominant in their 9-1 win on Monday. And the second is obviously Zach Gallen, who allowed 1 run in 7 innings without a walk in his latest start. And this is what we've come to expect out of Gallen. It's just sort of the norm for him, going 7 or 8 strong, not too many hits, 1 or 2 earned, and a ton of strikeouts. He's got a FIP of 2.46 on the season, and he already has a WAR of 3.3. We're in the month of June. I mean, that's outstanding. Then we have Julio Teheran, who's a very interesting case. I've talked about him on this show before and his contract situation, getting paid about $1.5 million with $1 million in incentives. And so far, he's pitched really well. The problem is the numbers just aren't sustainable. He just really can't keep this up if you break down the analytics, especially against an offense like Arizona's. And the Brewers just aren't a very good baseball team. I just don't like this squad very much. I expect Arizona's lineup to knock around Teheran. You can play him the full game, the first five run line. I lean Arizona for today's big game breakdown.
Thanks for that, Jimmy. Next up here, our 2-hole hitter, Robbie Veno. Rob, what do you got for big game breakdown on the Wednesday slate?
Yeah, thanks, Drew, for the big game breakdown today. We're going to go to Citizens Bank Ballpark in Philadelphia and play the first 5 innings here, up and over 4.5. The number attached to that universally now, I think, is minus 115. So that's the way we're going to go here for these reasons. The Braves are going to start 20-year-old right-hander A.J. Smith-Shawver, who started out in relief and has had a couple of starts since, only 4 appearances on the season. It's only his 3rd start. Both of those the starts he's had have been at home, Colorado and Washington. They're stretching him out a little bit. 99 pitches in his last outing, lasted 5 2/3, but did start to show a few cracks. Gave up a couple home runs in that game. Was pulled after 5 2/3, like I say, and then 99 pitches. It somewhat leads me into this play where Philadelphia's offense is concerned against him. The Phillies lineup in the month of June has heated back up. 272 batting average, 5.2 runs per game, 443 slugging percentage. They do fare better against right-handed pitching than left-handed. 266 batting average against the right-handers and only 243 against lefties. So some of those big, powerful left-handed bats of the Phils, and that, recently includes Bryson Stott, not a big guy, but certainly capable of hitting him out of the yard. Maybe they have a little success early on here against A.J. Smith-Shawver. The question mark would be, it's the first time Philadelphia's seen him. So we'll see how that goes. But I would expect Philly in 5 innings at home tonight in weather conditions here in this part of the country that are conducive to balls flying out of a park like that. I think they could probably find their way to 2-3 runs. The other side of this equation is Aaron Nola, who has had 0 luck whatsoever. And I don't even know if I should call it luck. He's just had 0 success against the Atlanta Braves overall in his last 5 starts. And he's made 5 starts against the Braves inside of a year's time period, because it goes back to June 30th of last year where these 5 starts are concerned. Let's take a look at him. 4 of the 5 starts, he's allowed either 4 or 5 runs in those games. His ERA overall, last 5 starts against Atlanta, 5.06. His whip, 1.31. He's given up 8 home runs in 32 innings pitched. He faced the Atlanta Braves once this season already. It's included in those 5 starts. It was May 25th, 6 innings pitched, 5 earned runs allowed. The Braves, here's the interesting part of this handicap and why I'm going first five. Last five starts, Aaron Nola has had against the Atlanta Braves. The Braves have scored 5, 0, 4, 5, and 3 runs in the first 5 innings. We're looking at a total of 4.5 here, and the Braves seem to get real close or above that every time they face Aaron Nola recently. So that's a good sign for playing over 4.5. The Braves are number 1 in Major League Baseball in runs scored first 5 innings away from home. Key there, because we're not talking about their home park, but when they go on the road, they're number 1 in average runs per game first 5 innings. They're averaging 3.6 per game on the road. Looks like a solid chance here for both of these lineups to score early on. Philadelphia's bullpen probably in better shape than Atlanta's tonight, so we'll avoid full game here. But I think that the Braves here probably find their way to 4 runs again against Nola. Philly find their way to 1 or 2. I think they probably get at least 2. So looks like a solid play here. Braves, Phillies at Citizens Bank tonight. First 5 innings, over 4.5, minus 115.
All right, guys. Quick show here on today's slate with all the day action. So we're heading back up to the top of the order with Jimmy Adams. Jimmy, throw it over to you, man. Any final thoughts for the show and where you heading for best bets today?
We head to PNC Park for today's best bet with 2 teams trending in completely opposite directions. Pittsburgh's now lost 8 straight, including getting swept by the Cubs last week. They're about to get swept by them again. Meanwhile, Chicago's won 9 of 11, and the NL Central is very much up for grabs. They're just 3.5 or so games back, provided the Reds ever lose another game. But all kidding aside, Chicago definitely has a lot to play for here. And the Pittsburgh offense really struggling to score, and that's an understatement. They haven't scored yet in this series. This is the final game of the series. They haven't scored a run. Kyle Hendricks has been extremely consistent throughout his 5 starts this season. He took a no-hitter into the 8th inning in San Francisco 2 starts back, and he's yet to allow more than 3 earned. Hendricks, he's not a guy that's going to blow you away, right? He's reliant on command. He has a high chase rate, and he doesn't walk many batters, which is key here because we don't want to give a Pittsburgh offense that's really struggling any free passes. So he'll be just fine. Rich Hill's a pitcher that when I look at his analytics, they are just horrific. I don't know how he's been able to get by the way he has thus far. A barrel percentage sitting at 11.2%. That's just terrible. And I won't bore you with the rest of them, but all of his analytics are really poor. Pittsburgh really, really struggling. We're getting the Cubs at a pretty good price. The Cubs are going to sweep the Pirates for the second time in a week. Give me Chicago for today's best bet.
Okay, Drew, for today's best bet, we're going to go to Houston. Daytime action, Mets at Houston. First 2 games of the series have resulted in a split so far, but boy, it looks like we have a huge advantage here for the Houston Astros today, starting pitching wise. We're going to play Houston first 5 innings on the run line, lay half a run, 10 cents attached to that. So minus half a run, first 5, minus 10 cents. Going to start with Tyler McGill, and this is a fade in this situation. We're going to fade the Mets starter. His road numbers have been disastrous. Last 3 road starts. At the end of his time in the ball game, this is what happened. The Mets were down 9-2 after his 3 2/3 at Pittsburgh on June the 9th. The Mets were tied 6-6 after his 4 innings when he left in Colorado. And the Mets were down 6-1 after his 3 2/3 when he left at Wrigley Field against the Chicago Cubs. So in that brief 3 games worth of results, the last 3 times McGill has thrown on the road, you see that he hasn't even made it to 5 innings and given up just a ton of runs. In his season 7 road starts that he's made, 7.42 ERA, 2.14 whip, 341 batting average against, 420 on base percentage against, and a 935 OPS. The Mets in Tyler McGill's 7 road starts this season, 1-6, where the first 5 inning run line is concerned. So good spot here for the Houston Bats if you're looking for a concern. And obviously there's always one concern, at least when you go ahead and make a play or bet a game. In this case, it would be the Houston lineup has not been on fire as of late, but I think that Tyler McGill could be the perfect elixir for a Houston lineup that still includes the quartet of Jeremy Pena, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, and Jose Altuve. I know missing big number 44 hurts, but I think they'll have success here against McGill, who hasn't had success on the road against anybody. Other side we'll look at here, the guy we're going to back, Christian Javier, who's pitching again like an all-star, 7 quality starts in his last 8 outings. His last 7 starts have resulted in a 5-0 record, 2.25 ERA, 1.03 whip. He's got somewhat similar home road splits. Javier's don't vary too much in a bunch of categories, but a couple of key ones where he's been better at home. His home ERA is 2.27 as opposed to 3.51 on the road. That's good for plus 1.24, 1.25 runs better earned run average wise at home. His K to walk ratio, much better at home, 5.67 as opposed to 3.23 when he goes away. And he doesn't allow very many home runs in Minute Maid. Only allowed 1 home run every 13.2 innings pitched at home. On the road, it's 1 every 6.9. So 3 advantages to having Javier at home there. Here's another fundamental matchup type of number here that I think bodes well for Javier and the Astros. Right-handed hitters this season against Christian Javier batting 166. It's important here in the Mets lineup because the Mets don't have a lot of lefties that do damage. Most of the Met damage comes from the right side. So this could be a nice hand in glove situation, perfect fit for Christian Javier. Neither lineup has faced the opposing starting pitcher. Surprisingly, I thought maybe the Mets would have faced Javier at least once, but they have not. So perhaps you give a little slight edge here to McGill, never having seen Houston, and edge obviously to Javier, the Mets never having seen them. But I think Houston's bats can light up McGill from the get-go here. He's much more susceptible to being hit in this one. Price looks cheap to me. We're asking Houston to be ahead at the end of 5 innings with the far superior pitcher. I think their lineup gets it done here. Big win last night for them, maybe a confidence builder. We only have to lay 10 cents with this. So going to use this as the best bet today. The Houston Astros first 5 innings, minus half a run, minus $1.10.
All right, guys. And for my best bet on the Wednesday card, I am heading to Minnesota here, jumping on the Twins. Sonny Gray, really the reason why. His pitch mix has changed. That's something I look for when looking to bet on pitchers. And sure enough, this season, it has been good since he's added that cutter, just a 2.37 ERA on the season. He's pitching 14 games and only given up 1 home run, guys. That's over 76 innings, 1 home run allowed. So, hey, I think he continues that streak here, and we get the home Twins, the first place Twins, at minus $1.25. Again, we're filming this earlier on Tuesday, so this is the overnight lines here, guys. Minus $1.25 on the Minnesota Twins up against the Boston Red Sox. That's my best bet for the show here on the Wednesday card. Hopefully you enjoy the day action, cash some tickets on the night action, guys. That does it. Check out Jimmy Adams, Rob Veno, WagerTalk.com. I am Drew Martin, signing out. Cash those tickets.